My name is Mary Fons. I am a quilter, an author, a teacher, and a magazine editor, and I host a number of programs that teach people how to quilt. What's unusual about my story is that my mother is a very well-known, well-respected quilter. She's one half of the Fons and Porter brand, and that's a well-known brand in the quilt industry. So I grew up around quilts. I had a healthy respect, a great respect for quilts and quilt making in America and the history of that. But I didn't start making quilts myself until about 6 years ago. And when I did, when I finally had my quilt epiphany, it was like, stand back, let me at it. I really love to sew. And if you meet a quilter who is a real quilter, you know, and it can be a beginner, it can be someone who's only done a little bit of patchwork, and by the way, that beginner doesn't have to mean, that doesn't mean young or in her 20s or 30s. I have many beginners that I work with who are 60 and 70 beyond, who now just they finally have time to sew. They finally have time to explore this fantastic hobby, art form, whatever you want to call it. But when you have a real quilter, beginner or experienced or at whatever age, there's a love. It's the joy of making a quilt, the love of doing something that doesn't make any sense. We're cutting up pieces of fabric into little pieces of fabric and sewing them back together again. Why would you do that? Why on earth would you do that? Well, because you love it, and it's really, really fun. And Baby Lock makes it more fun because you have these machines that are just so easy to use, so fun to use. It makes the experience all the better. Trust doesn't happen overnight, and with the responsibility, you know, Baby Lock takes it seriously. They want to give the people who are interested in buying their product and who have bought their product, they want to give them a good experience every time. The best way for me to explain what I mean is by just taking you to a machine. Let me show you this machine and how intuitive it is. You'll see how easy it is to use. This is a machine that's been made by people who know what they're talking about. This applies to the person who's just sitting down at a machine for the very first time. And it also applies to the person who is a professional. They're giving the person who's sitting at that machine, they are making that experience rich for that maker.